Wonderful. So it's James Kleinmann from the Queer Review here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Well, congratulations, Neil and Alan. What a wonderful 10 hours I've just spent in the world of the Sandman.
Thank you for watching.
I'm so thrilled that you watched it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely wonderful. And the comic books, of course, were serialized. I think they came out monthly originally. So why was Netflix the right home for this adaptation of the Sandman rather than, say, trying to cram everything into a movie or a series of movies? Neil, how about you?
Well, for 30 years, people who weren't me had tried to make Sandman movies, and I've read, at this point, probably about 15 to 20 different Sandman movie scripts, and all of them tried to take 3,000 pages of story and cram it into 2 hours, and all of them were terrible. Even the good ones were terrible because they weren't really Sandman. So the biggest and easiest thing, the thing that we had that was going for us, was just the idea that we would have the time to tell the story. In terms of how it dropped, I don't think we were particularly thinking about that one way or another. What we wanted was a network who would respect the material, give us the money to make the material, trust us to make the material and let us get on with it, and then release it however they released it, and we would trust them to do that right. So had Netflix turned around and said, we're going to drop it weekly or daily or anything like that, we would have trusted them. And as it is, it's going to drop. All 10 episodes are going to drop at once.
Well, coming to this as a queer viewer, I was particularly delighted and found it very refreshing and exciting to see all of the LGBTQ plus characters that we discover along the way here. And they're not necessarily always the nicest people. They can be flawed, they can be human, and none of them are defined by their sexuality. So I just wondered what your approach was, perhaps when you wrote the material originally, but particularly in revisiting it for this adaptation when it came to that aspect.
We didn't really change anything. I mean, that was how they were when I wrote them. That was always how I've written characters. At the time, we got a grumpy... I remember getting a very grumpy letter from the Concerned Mothers of America, informing us that due to the number of gay characters in Sandman, they would be boycotting us and Sandman, and that we had to repent. And we never repented, and the sales just went up and up and up. So I never really worried about their boycott. I worry about them still. But that was when I was writing it, and today I had gay friends, I had trans friends. I wanted to see them represented in the comics that I was writing. I wasn't, and it felt to me like if I wrote comics and left them out, then I wouldn't be representing my world or the world I was in or the world I was perceiving accurately, bravely, or truly, and that was the point of art. So for me, that was just, it was a given. And I don't know, I mean, how did it feel for you coming to those characters 30-something years later?
Well, I mean, I think part of the reason that I loved Sandman when it was coming out was because it was representation, at a time, especially in comics, where there was none. I mean, North Star didn't happen for quite some time, and it wasn't the same. So I, as a queer person, always sort of felt seen and heard and held by Sandman. And obviously I wanted the show to do that for everybody, for the LGBTQIA plus community. A number of people in the writers' rooms for both seasons 1 and we've started talking about season 2 are non-binary and gay and lesbian and bisexual and trans. And so everybody was able to read these stories in 2021 and 2022 in a fresh way and say, no, this still works. It really works. And I don't know, it was very liberating for me in episode 5 to couple people off in those surprising ways. And to say that, if we weren't inhibited by our culture, by our parents, by our religion, whatever it was, we'd be a lot more fluid sexually. None of those people is twisted into that shape by John Dee. He's very clear that you are all doing exactly what you want to be doing in that moment. And I found it, I don't know, really exciting, and it felt true. It felt freeing for those characters and for me as a writer as well.
I'd also just throw in here that one of the most moving things for me of the last 24 hours was getting to meet Mason Alexander Park, who I'd not met, but who I cast initially we'd cast, but Mason had reached out to me on Twitter and said, have you cast Desire yet? And who's your casting director? And I wrote back and said, no, we haven't, and it's Lucinda Sison. And then I was curious enough and looked at Mason's videos and went, oh, and dropped a line immediately to Allan saying, I think we may have found our Desire. But 2 days ago, Mason was showing me their tattoos. And there's a beautiful Desire tattoo with a quote from Desire on their arm. And I thought, that predates. This is not something, this is an older tattoo. And it's like, okay, you've been this, you wanted to be Desire for a very long, long time. And I love that you get to embody this character.
Well, I think that kind of love like echoes throughout the series, that it's been made with that kind of love. So Neil, Allan, congratulations again on the series, and exciting to hear that season 2 is in the works.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it. Tell everybody.
I will. Yes, I shall be shouting about it.